Dreams are real. When you close your eyes and you literally see a commercial with you and Serena Williams, and then you're sitting there behind a TV watching the Super Bowl, and there you are in the biggest Nike commercial of all time. You've reversed your brain tumor. You've lost 130 pounds. You were crazy enough to leave your business. You were crazy enough to take a chance. You were crazy enough to actually write down your dreams. And then the universe conspired, and my dream came true.
Hi, I'm Tim Bratz, and every week I sit down with the top influential entrepreneurs in the country to discuss how to leave a true legacy in all things happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom. This is the Legacy Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. I am Tim Bratz, your host, and today I've got my boy Charlie Rocket with me. So Charlie and I met last summer of 2024. Charlie runs the Dream Machine Foundation, and he spoke at my good friend Mark Evans' event, and we did a charitable auction that evening, and people were bidding on all sorts of wild and crazy and amazing prizes, all in order to support Charlie's foundation, which helps children and people who have big dreams achieve those dreams. A lot of times kids who might have certain terminal illnesses, but really anybody, really it's there to get people dreaming again and open up their eyes and really just pay it forward, because we're all so blessed in what we do. And Charlie's story is one of the most remarkable stories you'll ever hear, and that's why I wanted him on here, because I want to be able to share his story. It is so inspiring and mesmerizing, to the point where Nike picked up his storyline and put a bunch of money behind it, and he was in a commercial with LeBron James and all these amazing people. So I want to do a spoiler alert so that way people understand how impactful it is. But the story in order to get there, and then the actual commercial, is like over the top. So let's dive in, brother. I appreciate you being here, first of all, man. You are somebody I truly look up to and really inspire me. And dude, I love your journey. I love supporting what you guys are doing in order to make an impact in the world. And dude, we need more people like you.
Hey, we're trying to create more people. We're trying to inspire more people to use their platforms, and to use their abundance, whether it's abundance of time or their abundance of money, in order to make humanity just a little bit better, because we only have a short period of time on this earth. And let me tell you, the supervillains, sometimes I feel like they are winning, and it's up to us to use our powers to try to do good in the world, because there's a lot of bad, but there's also a lot of good.
There's a lot of good,
we gotta
for
just
sure.
all come together and platform it and inspire others, and then it becomes kind of like a chain reaction. It's like one candle lights another, and I've been very lucky in my life to have that like dark moment, because that dark moment, that rock bottom moment, really inspired all of this. So like I'm very grateful for, having a brain tumor. I'm very grateful for all my struggles. Because when I really think about it, like everything that I'm not really inspired everything that I am today. And so I appreciate you
Powerful,
having
man.
me on the podcast. And I'm excited to help whoever's listening to this, and in whatever way this message is received. I really hope it impacts your community.
I appreciate it, brother. Well, let's dive in. So you have a pretty awesome story about all the flash and pizzazz type things that
Hmm.
come with being rich and famous and being around a lot of celebrities and all those kinds of things. And then, you kind of gave a spoiler alert of boom, got knocked on your behind. So let's talk about
Hmm.
that. First, let's go to the beginning of your story. And you got a pretty incredible mom and someone who
Yes.
supported your journey the entire time and really inspired you in a big way to do some pretty awesome and wild things. So talk a little bit about your early part of the journey and then what stopped you in your tracks.
All right, so I was always a dreamer, as I think so many of us are. I wanted to be an athlete as a kid, but I was always overweight. And it got to that point where I'm in school and all the kids who are athletic, I can't keep up with them anymore. I'm having like self-realization thoughts where there's this crossroad of I have a dream and what's realistic in life. And that's a really, really bad place to be because to go down a path of realistic for society's expectations,
Mm,
that can really set your life on a trajectory of like, you could potentially get to your deathbed one day and say, in this life, I did not get to experience my dream.
mm,
For me, I buried the dream of being an athlete and I asked myself, what am I going to be good at? What can I be good at? And I had this like kind of gift of seeing around the corner. And I've always had this gift, like when it comes to cultural marketing and influence. And I just knew that being an entrepreneur was going to be like not just a thing, it was going to be a cool thing. So, like, as a young man going to school, I had the briefcase, took the backpack off, put a suit on, and I was like starting businesses. And I'm telling everybody I'm going to be a businessman. And then a few of my friends at school started rapping. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Let me tell you, they had these jackets, they were all matching, kind of like club jackets, and it was embroidered. And I was like, I have to be a part of this. Like I'm growing up in Atlanta. It's now like the hip hop mecca. And I'm just a young man, and I go to my mom and I'm like, Mom, my name is CEO Charlie now and I'm gonna be in the music industry. She's like, what type of music? She's like, I'm like hip hop. And she's like, I don't know about that hip hop stuff. I said, can I put a studio in my bedroom? She gave me permission. She's very supportive. I put a studio in the bedroom. All my friends are coming over making songs. Then I started a media outlet, Young Dreamer. I just think anything is possible. So I made a hip hop media outlet called spityourgame.com and I got a camera for Christmas. Granted, I did not grow up rich. My mom sold vacuum cleaners, my dad sold vacuum cleaners. Very humble lifestyle, but amazing, amazing parents. Taught me a lot about money. If you know how to sell, it's a good building blocks for the rest of your life. So I actually had to sell vacuum cleaners too. So I'm applying all this knowledge to trying to grow a media outlet, to trying to like blow up artists, and it kind of worked. The media outlet, the website blew up, and like record labels start calling, and they're signing artists that I'm featuring, and I end up going off to community college because I wasn't making enough money to, like I'm popular but not making money. There's a big difference.
yep.
So I'm in community college and I'm just like, I just know I'm not supposed to be here. I'm just buying time. I'm failing the classes. And I get a phone call one day from Interscope Records, which is a big deal. And it was a guy by the name of Brian Washington. He had the deepest voice you've ever heard. And he called me. He said, "Is this Charlie Jabbely?" I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "We just signed this artist, and he requested you to be his cameraman on his world tour." I'm like, "This is my big break. This is it. I'm about to be successful." But then I told Mr. Washington, I said, "I need to ask my mom if I could drop out of school." He asked me how old I am. I said, I'm 19. He said, "Okay, go ask your mom." So I go back to my mom's house. I ask her. She gives me her blessing. Next thing you know, I'm on tour with Soulja Boy. He had the number one song in the world. I remember, like right now, I'm in Vegas. I'm helping a little girl with cancer right now. So she has a dream of doing a donut drink. So it's such a contrast of what my life was because I was in Vegas with Soulja Boy performing at the VMAs in Hugh Hefner's suite on a pool that goes out over the balcony of Las Vegas with Kanye West as a 19-year-old kid. And now I'm in Vegas and there's a little girl who loves donuts and there's a world famous donut bakery here with lines out the door and like millions and millions of followers, and we're making a dream come true for her. You know, it's her donut dream, having her own flavor on the line, all of that. It's just such a contrast. But going back, I'm a cameraman for an artist. I get fired. I was not a good employee. Back in my mom's basement, I told my mom, this is a winning streak. She said, why? I said, because the cameraman was the least paid person on the team. It was me. I did not make much money. Um, I'm going to be a manager because that's the highest paid person on the team. She said, what do you know about managing artists? I said, as a cameraman, I think I'll be the best manager in the world because I have the media outlet to get my new artists out there. And I know how to make their videos to make them viral and popular. And I'm just like only looking at the good. Like there's nothing bad. I honestly, Tim, I don't think anything bad has ever happened to me in life. Ever. I literally can take a bad situation and flip it every
Mm-hmm.
time because there's a winning streak in every situation.
Love that.
And so I signed a girl group, got them signed to Interscope Records. They're starting to take off, and then they fired me. I know if somebody's listening to this, they're like, Charlie, why do you keep getting fired? This time it was kind of my fault, but not really. I was young. So like we can't blame me for being 19 because they left me for, you know, a big industry manager, basically Sierra's manager. They left me for Sierra's manager who is experienced. Me, I don't have the recipes. I'm just in there cooking. I'm not using a
Mm-hmm.
recipe book. It's my first time in the kitchen. Um, so I'm right back in my mom's basement and you know, you have these thoughts. Am I meant for this? Like, what? Like, and then I'm thinking about the alternative, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go get a job. It's just not even an option. Like, I have to make this work. And I have about $100 in my bank account, and I'm living in my mom's basement. And that's an interesting place to be when you've seen so much, like when you're on tour and then you have record deals, and then like the contrast is I have $100. Like I am very humbled. But I signed this guy group. I came right back. I signed a guy group and it took off. And it wasn't easy to take off. It's not like that like dream story of just like I signed them and the next thing you know, no, I passed out CDs every single day for like a year at 4 o'clock in the morning as people are exiting nightclubs. And Atlanta gets cold. Let's be very clear about how cold Atlanta gets. But I'm out there every night passing out CDs. And I'm like, listen, I'm not the smartest person in the world. But if there's one thing I know how to do, I know how to run a play. I like actually turned off the strategy part of my brain and I turned on the factory worker part of my brain. And like so many people were in my ear saying, Charlie, you're the manager. Why are you holding a camera? Why are you passing out CDs? I'll tell them, this is my life. I have to make sure this works. I can't rely on somebody else. But they're like, you don't look like a manager. People are going to treat you like a street team. I said, honestly, you're right. You're right. They're not going to respect me. But when we get one of these top 10 records, guess what they're going to do? They're going to
Mm-hmm.
respect me, and I'm not going to have to hold that camera forever. But I got to get done what I got to get done, and I don't have the money to afford everybody else. So I said, what is the play that will guarantee my success so that I can get out of this survival and scarcity mode? And I said, you know what? Passing out CDs every night, that's my play. And then I would drive from every radio station from Jackson, Mississippi, all the way down to Charleston, Florida, all the way up to Washington, D.C. And I would like knock on the door, like vacuum cleaner sales style or like real estate style. Introduce myself. I've got this group. And I worked 3 songs, top 10 in the nation without a budget, without money, which is unheard of. It was
Wow.
just sheer will. But like money is an exchange of energy, but time and energy is also an exchange of energy. So if you don't have money to go like pay somebody to build a house, you have to build it yourself. I'm using energy instead of money. Both ways the house gets built. So I'm on top of the world. I sign an artist by the name of Two Chains and people thought I was crazy for signing him. And he took off. We went from $3,000 a show to $200,000 a show. I've always been really big in like visualization and manifestation. Like on the background of my phone, I had like a big like festival, like a sea of people, and I wake up one day and I'm on that same stage at Coachella with my artist that's performing in front of the sea of people. And I'm like, we did it. And I'm like 24 years old. So I'm still very young. Um, but you ever seen White Man Can't Jump?
Yeah.
Rosie Perez said to her boyfriend, Woody Harrelson, said, sometimes when you win, you lose. And that's what was happening to me. I was winning in one aspect, but I was losing in another because I was an addict to food. I had a binge eating disorder. I had been overweight my whole life. And if you remember in the story, I buried my dream of being an athlete. I went down that crossroad and I went to this, I'm going to go be successful and make money route. But I ignored this thing that was inside of me. It was put there for a reason. Our dreams, as crazy as they might seem, they are definitely divine and for a reason, because I was dying. I was 300 pounds. I had a binge eating disorder. I would literally, it was like so much of a food addiction. I would eat 10,000 calories in a day. No, not even in a day. I would eat 10,000 calories in a night, to where like I would go from gas station to gas station buying, oh, this one has the Mrs. Field cookies. This one has the Mrs. Field ice cream sandwiches. This one would have the pastries. This one would have the Krispy Kreme donuts. And I would just binge so much. And I would like even like sneak out of the house. So like at one point, my best friend lived with me and she always knew I was on a diet. This is the thing about binge eating. It's always like contrast. I was on a diet. That's why I was binge eating. I was like starving myself. And then I would like buy something, eat it, and like I would sneak out of the house in the middle of the night and hide the wrappers underneath the trash bags outside so she doesn't see me, eating these things. And then she caught me one time at Wendy's. She drove up, parked right beside me, and I'm like stuffing my face. And just like it's really sick stuff. But I got really sick. I'm at the height of my career. We won a Grammy. We were nominated for 6. And we're doing world tours, selling millions of albums. I've got the biggest management company in Atlanta. I became the king of this thing called hip hop when I was just a little kid. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. Like, I became the king of it in the city. And I got sick with a brain tumor. I was so unhealthy. There was one morning in LA, in the hills of Hollywood, at 2 Chainz's house. I wake up, go to pick up a pair of socks, and I blacked out. And I woke up in the closet. And for the next 4 days, the room was just spinning. I couldn't stop it. I could not stop the room from spinning. Come to find out, I was sick with a brain tumor. It was wrapped around my left eye. It was putting pressure on the artery going into my brain. It had been there for so long, it started corroding the top of my spine. And it was very invasive, and I was scared. And I I started asking myself questions. I asked myself, what's my story? And then I replayed it. And I said, here's a good kid who buried his dream to went on to make a lot of money, and then he dies. And I was like, that story sucks. That's like a terrible story. Like, there's interesting parts to it, but like, that's not a good story. I said, what would be a good story? Does does the man stay doing what he's been doing, or does he throw it all away and goes back to his childhood dream to see if it's possible. Because I would have like nightmares at night of like dying. And the very first thought when I would wake up would be, I never got to experience what it was like to be fit. I never got to experience what it was like to be an athlete. I never got to experience what it's like to actually have my dream. I know how to make money. There's only one thing in this world I don't know how to do. I don't know how to achieve my dream. So then the thoughts start going through my head. Well, I'm 28 years old. I'm 300 pounds. If I do want to go be an athlete, what does that look like? Like, what do I even tell my mom? Like, I'm gonna like walk away from my music empire to like run? Like, that sounds crazy. But I'm crazy. So guess what I did? I walked away. I gave all my shares to my business partners. I had conversations with each one of my artists, and I said, I'm gonna go chase my dream. And one of my artists kind of like questioned it a little bit, not in a bad way, in a great way. But he's like, "What do you mean? Like, I don't understand." I said, listen, this is not my practice life. This is my only one.
Wow.
And he said, I get it. I get it. And so I started running and I had a vision. I'm going to do an Ironman and then I'm going to ride my bicycle across America. I had no idea if I would ever make money again. I literally just did not know how this could actually be a career because I'm not going to play for the Lakers. Let's be honest. I'm not going to be in the Olympics. Let's really be honest. I'm just the average guy going on a run, but I'm a really big dreamer, Tim. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be a Nike athlete. When I close my eyes, I see it. I love Nike. I've always loved Nike. When I was 8 years old, the very first stock I bought was Nike. Like, I think it's like the greatest, like, inspirational company ever for somebody who loves athletics or sports. And so I wanted to make a fan made Nike commercial. My friends thought I was crazy. They're like, okay, like, well, and then what? I said, well, Nike's going to see it, and then Nike's going to want to sign me. They're like, Charlie, you're crazy. I said, I know, but what if it works? Isn't that like fun? And what if like Nike signs me? And what if I'm in commercials with like LeBron James and Serena Williams? And long story short, I needed to find a filmmaker who could make a Nike grade commercial.
This episode of the Legacy Podcast is brought to you by the Legacy Boardroom Mastermind. So our goal is to give as much free information away as humanly possible through all of our social media platforms and try to help people with their businesses, help people with their lives. We also have something for people who want more one-on-one attention, which is Legacy Boardroom. Legacy Boardroom is a board of directors for your business. If you are doing up to about $10 million a year in gross revenue, you're making some money, you got some good things happening, but maybe you can't afford a C-suite of executives, of a chief marketing officer, a chief operating officer, a chief investment officer, a chief human resources officer, and you need access to these fractional C-suite executives. That's what this was built for, at a fraction of the price of what you could find anywhere else in the marketplace. So it's my actual team who have built multiple 7 and 8 and 9-figure businesses and real estate portfolios that is available every single day of the week on these daily boardroom calls. So any questions that you have, you can hop on, ask questions about operations to my COO, ask questions about acquisitions to my CMO, ask questions about raising private money to my chief investment officer, or team building to my chief HR officer. So they're available for you 5 days a week. Any questions that you have, any hurdles that you're facing, anything that you need, these guys are available to help you break through any sort of barriers and take your business to the next level so that way you can build a business that is designed to feed your life and your lifestyle. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more, check out legacyboardroom.com.
And I start asking my friends in Hollywood, and they're like, Charlie, you need a budget like 40 grand, 60 grand, because those are like real productions. You're going to need somebody who can shoot, equipment, editing, scoring, like all this stuff costs real money. I know, but I'm not about to spend that type of money. I said, I'll spend a few grands. And they're like, Charlie, you need to be more realistic. After like the fourth person told me to be realistic, I got really pissed.
Hmm.
I'm talking about I've done nothing realistic my whole life, and those are the words that like boil my blood.
Yep.
And I told the gentleman, he worked with John Legend's management team. I told him, don't ever tell me to be realistic. Now, granted, I'm a really nice guy, but I have fire in me. I said, don't ever tell me to be realistic. Watch. Tomorrow, I'm going to find my videographer, an editor who can make this thing, and it's going to be easy. Next morning, I'm in Santa Monica, California, sitting on a couch. Now, granted, I'm living with roommates at the time. Remember, I'm a music mogul, but I have no idea if I'm ever gonna make money again. I'm like, I gotta conserve this life savings for the rest of my life. I'm living with three people in a house in Santa Monica, something I've never done my entire life. And I'm sitting on a couch writing in my manifestation notebook. Like when I talk about my life is totally different than it was a year earlier winning Grammys. And I'm just writing in my notebook, I'm going to be in a commercial with LeBron James and Serena Williams. Nike's going to sign me. Today is the day I find my videographer. Like, like this is, most people would call me crazy until my roommate walks in the front door. Now, my roommate should never have a cameraman following him. Why? He works for like a health food company that sells like goji berries. Okay, like he's like on the business side, not entertainment. And yet, behind him, walking in the front door, is this guy holding this big steady cam rig, like $100,000 worth of equipment. I look at him, I say, "You do videos?" And the first words out of the guy's mouth were like extremely negative and toxic. So like my hopes were not high. So I said, "You do videos?" He said, "Yeah, I do videos, but nobody ever pays me." I'm like, "Oh God, I thought this was about to be the most magical moment of my life." And then this dark cloud of
Bro, that's the
toxicity.
opportunity. You were looking for somebody who doesn't need to be paid, right?
See what I'm saying? You get exactly what you asked for. So I start asking this gentleman a few questions. Now he looks like a gothic, like rock star, all black. And I'm like bubbly and colorful over here manifesting, like in my la la land. And I said, do you own your own equipment? He said, yeah, I own all my own equipment. Like I'm just kind of like a hoarder. Like I like geek out on equipment. I have lighting, I have dollies, I have steady cam rigs, I have lenses. I was like, okay, okay, that's really good. I said, can I see some of your work? He said, well, I haven't updated my website in like 6 years. I was like, oh God, this is going to be bad. I said, what's your website? Pull open my laptop, type it in. There was a little short film on there. I click on it and it's actually really good. He's standing there watching me watch it. I said, man, did you shoot this? He said, yeah, I shot it. Because a lot of times cameramen aren't like directors, like he said, yeah, I shot and directed it. And then I said, who edited it? Because a lot of times in film, the person who shoots does not edit. These are two different specialties. He said, yeah, I edited it. I said, who made the music on it? Because film is nothing without good music and scoring. He said, well, I used to be in a rock band. We were on the Warped Tour like 15 years ago, and we had a record deal, but the record label dropped us. I was like, forget all that. You made the music. He said, yeah, I made the music. I said, who did the scoring and the mixing and the mastering of the audio? Because it's so rich. He said, well, I have a studio in my bedroom and I mix and master all my own audio. I was like, oh, look at my notebook. I said, look, I said I was going to find you and you walked in my front door. He said, why were you looking for me? I said, listen, we're going to make a fan made Nike commercial. Nike's going to see it and Nike's going to sign me. And I'm going in this lifetime to be able to say my dream came true. He said, that's crazy. I said, I know. That's the whole point. It's supposed to be crazy. And I asked him how much it will cost to make this commercial. I told him my vision, and he said $600. I was all right. At this point, I'm skeptical. I'm like, okay, why 600? Everybody else is telling me 60,000. He said, well, I need a 10-foot PVC pipe. It needs to have 2 arms on it, 2 belts. We need a skateboard, and we need to rent an anamorphic lens. But if we rent it on a Friday, we get to keep it all weekend for free and return it on Monday. I was like, okay, I like the way this is going.
I like it.
Long story short, what I wrote in my notebook came true, and I didn't do it. I did not find him. He walked in my front door. We made a fan made Nike commercial. I put it out on my Instagram to just a few thousand followers. It started spreading virally. 3 days later, Nike calls me. I'm in that same living room. I'm jumping up and down, screaming internally. I didn't want them to know I was screaming. And they invited me up to campus. And they sat me down at a conference table with 30 of the biggest executives in the company. And they said, Charlie, your film has inspired us to change the direction of our company.
It's insane, man.
What they did was they created a commercial that in 2018 was extremely controversial. It was a massive campaign. It was called Dream Crazy. It was titled after a film that I made called Dream Crazy. I got to be in it. It had LeBron James, it had Serena Williams, and the stock price of Nike went up $40 billion. And it was a dream come true, not just like a little like, Charlie, like you're an athlete. Like, no, like that childhood dream that you saw, it was real. Dreams are real. When you close your eyes and you literally see a commercial with you and Serena Williams, and then you're sitting there behind a TV watching the Super Bowl, and there you are in the biggest Nike commercial of all time. You've reversed your brain tumor. You've lost 130 pounds. You were crazy enough to leave your business. You were crazy enough to take a chance. You were crazy enough to actually write down your dreams. And then the universe conspired. The universe conspired and made it all real. So these visions that we see in our mind, they're not visions. It's a real thing that we just have to be crazy enough to jump. And my dream came true. I got to win an Emmy. I got to say I'm an athlete. I did an Ironman in New Zealand. I rode my bicycle across America. I got surprised by the biggest running magazine in the world. I had no idea. They asked me to do a little photo shoot. I thought I was going to have like a little like feature on like page 37. They surprised me with the cover. They didn't even tell me. And I'm on the cover. I walk into the mall and I see a newsstand and there's me. I walk into the airport and I'm like, I'm an athlete. Like, this is what's possible. And so in that moment, all my dreams came true. And I said, well, what else is there? I said, you know what? This is the time where we gotta reach our hand back and get somebody else to their dream. And so I started a nonprofit called the Dream Machine Foundation, and we help make dreams come true because not everybody has the resources, the environment, or the belief system around them, either within themselves or around them, to achieve their dream. Just think about like the little 6-year-old girl we helped yesterday. She has a dream. She loves donuts. She wants to have a donut shop. She doesn't have the ability to make that a reality right now in her life. But she deserves her dream. And maybe that dream will activate something magical that helps heal her, because that's what hope does. Hope helps heal things. It's kind of miraculous. And so that's what I've dedicated my life to. I wake up every day. My team, oh my God, my team wakes up every day and they work so hard. Doing this is not easy. And even personally, I'm still on my journey, Tim. I started my nonprofit, and it was almost like I went back to the music industry and I
Mm.
gained almost 70 pounds. My dream was falling apart as I was dedicating my life to making other people's dreams come true. And so I had a wake up call about 9 months ago because I always have to be very careful with my brain tumor. And I said, I got to get my health back. I'm no good to anybody. I can't help a single person if I'm in the ground.
Hmm.
I was put on this earth and I was taught some amazing lessons of how valuable it is to achieve your dream and your health so that you can be there for others. And so I've lost 40 pounds.
It's
I'm
awesome.
training for another Ironman. I'm going to do an amazing bike ride from LA to the Grand Canyon. And we're out here making dreams come true. And I've grown our foundation with the best employees to scale it. And now we're going to scale the foundation, not just with me, but with other influencers. And we call them dream makers, to where it doesn't all have to be on my shoulders. Now we
Hmm.
get to help 10 times the amount of kids. And it's this balance that I'm learning. As you could tell from my story, I bump my head, I get knocked down, but I keep getting back up. And I'm just on a mission to reach my hand back and teach, but also to pick people up as well so that they don't have to go through what I've been through in life. So that's my story, man. I'm a dreamer. I love dreams, man, and I'm grateful you have me on so I could even like share this message because I know most of the people listening to this, they're dreamers too, but they might have forgotten about a dream as well. And it doesn't matter how old we are, we deserve that dream.
Hmm. Dude. So first of all, this is the easiest podcast I've ever done because I haven't had to talk for the past 40 minutes and your story. And yet it's probably one of the best podcasts I've ever done because your story is so remarkable. It's so inspiring. You're doing a fantastic job of sharing the story, right? I know that you share it a lot, but dude, it comes across. It's so strong. And I remember when I heard it at Mark's event last summer, I was like, this guy's awesome and I want to be able to support him and support his mission any way that I possibly can. And so
Mhm.
I know that night, like you
Big
were able to
time.
get all sorts of different contributions for some amazing things. Like I bid on
Huge.
the opportunity to go to get interviewed on the stock exchange, right?
Yeah.
And I bid a bunch of money on that in order to buy that. But you guys were giving away Mike Tyson signed gloves and red carpet, you know, viewings of certain movies that were coming out, and then a whole
Yeah.
bunch of people. What was really cool is all these people had like vacation homes,
Yeah.
and like I contributed my island and I contributed my mountain house,
My
and all of a
island. That's
sudden, man, there was
crazy
like
to say.
tens of thousands, and we ended up raising what, somewhere around
Seven,
700 grand, right?
718, I think, which is bigger than any, like by like 5x what our nonprofit. We've been doing this for now 8 years. And that was by far the biggest night our nonprofit has ever experienced. And that's a big deal. That's a really big deal for these kids that we're helping. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because man, you just don't know, man. Like,
Yeah.
when you're out here really, really on the front lines every day helping these families, and I mean, these families so often they're struggling. It's not just the kid, it's the family. They have to quit their jobs it's a full-time job, but there's no insurance that pays lost wages for like a
Mm-mm.
parent having to move to another state and like quit their job to take care of this child who has to be in the hospital 4 or 5 times a week. So it's a big deal. Long story short, man, y'all, this group of men, I never met anybody like y'all in my life. And it really is amazing that there is so much good in this world. It just takes a little bit of time to find. the good, but there's some
Well, I
good in
mean,
this
you know, the
world.
the society highlights negative, right? People like to watch train wrecks, and unfortunately, that's what gets a lot of attention, and attention is currency today. And unfortunately, that's where all the publications and all the news outlets and everything want to highlight because that grabs attention, which then allows them to sell the ads and the marketing and the advertising and stuff. And so, dude, the more that we can do to highlight the positive, there's a lot of positive out there. There's a lot of amazing people who want to make a big difference in this world. It's just they get pushed down because the negative stuff is what
Yeah.
sells. And I think we need to understand that as consumers and say no to it and push it to the side because dude, it's not good for anybody. And we need to push our attention and follow and promote and support these positive missions in the world. And then guess what? Advertising dollars is going to start going to that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to become front page and it's becoming more and more inspirational. And I'm hoping that that movement is starting, right? You see it with some positive news outlets and a lot of positive, amazing pages like your Instagram is over 1 million followers, right? And so you guys are doing some fantastic things, and it's good to see some of that momentum. So
Thank
tell me
you.
this: when somebody's going through these dark times, man, it's hard to see outside the box. It's hard to see any
Mm-hmm.
sort of optimism. It's really hard to dream when you're trying to just keep your head above water, let
Yep.
alone get your head in the clouds. When you're talking to someone who's going through that type of a situation, how do you get them to start dreaming again? How do you get them to get away from the complacency of whatever they've lived for the past 40, 50, 60 years? Like I've seen you guys make dreams come true of grandmas working in grocery store
Yeah.
checkout lines, right? Who just wanted a dream of having her own apartment and you guys were able to make things like that happen. How do you breathe that inspiration into these folks and get them thinking big again when they've just gotten let down by life over and over and over again for decades?
Want to know what's so interesting, man? Is it's so rare for a human to have a truly positive interaction with another human. It is actually extremely rare. When people wake up, they go to the gas station. Somebody might say, "How are you doing?" The automatic response is, "I'm good." And then they move on to the next person. They're at work, and then they just have to stay strong and not like open up about what's going on. And they're like, and then they go home and they're with the same family who, it's just mundane. Like it's just like mundane, just like cycle of not uplifting. Now let me support it by saying this. When I was first sick with a brain tumor, there was this guy named Richard Sellers. He said to me, he saw like my head was down, and he said to me, "This too shall pass." And that little word, just phrase, had such a big impact on me. Like it
Mm.
was something so simple, but from somebody who I just know a little bit. And he just like cared. One, he saw me. Two, he cared. Like, and he said, "This too shall pass." And then when I was in high school, I was sick, and the basketball team walked across the street to my house. They hadn't seen me in months. I was the water boy. I was the manager of the basketball team, but I was so sick. They walked across the street. They brought like balloons and stuff, and they knocked on my door, and they said, "Charlie, just come to practice." That changed my life.
Mm.
That changed my life. For anybody listening to the story, like I was first diagnosed with brain tumor at 17. It came back at 28. So when I was in high school, I was so scared that just the simple act of being seen and getting me outside of the house, they just put their arms around me and be like, "Come to practice." That gave me the momentum. It wasn't some big, crazy thing. It was just somebody cared.
Mm.
And then somebody that wasn't my parents, it was something else. And man, you don't know how powerful that is, but you would not realize how alone and broken so many people feel. And it's the same thing every day for years. and there's
Mhm.
not a positive light. So for me, what I do is I know the power of words. If I'm talking to somebody who's really going through it, I listen, and then I try to guide them through how this could be a blessing. This could be the greatest comeback of all time. This can be inspirational. You got this. And then it just fires something up that has to be maintained. But man, you just don't know the power of just sitting there, letting somebody feel seen and heard, because people will go years and never feel seen.
Mhm. It's powerful, man. And it's a reminder for all of us of, don't neglect, right? Do not neglect these folks. Like, these are amazing, amazing people who have had bad things happen to them, and then they just get written off, right? And society just doesn't pay attention or whatever it is. And dude, just think about the impact that it can make. A small little thing, like a word of inspiration, a word of uplifting, and being able to support them on their journey could make all the difference. Could make all the difference in the world. So,
Absolutely.
dude, I love what you guys are doing. Tell me about, how can people help you? How can we support you? How can we? I mean, obviously, people can write checks. Obviously, people can
Hmm.
support you in that regard. What are other ways? Well, one, how can they do that? How can they
Yeah.
support your mission and help make other people's dreams come true? Where can they go for that? And then also, what are other ways that people can support you and the Dream
Yeah.
Machine Foundation?
So I'll be honest, as many podcasts as I've done, I don't think we've ever gotten a donation from like somebody who listens. Most people, it's just not their like it's
I got a
I
different
really
crowd, man. I got a different crowd. We're gonna make donations. Send me the link. We'll link it. And
dreammachineusa.org. But I'll tell you one of the most powerful ways, what I've learned is if you have like an event, have me come speak and we'll do a fundraiser with the crowd. Like that is like the number one way that we're able to help these kids. Is
bro,
the
because
most.
you're the one who brought a lot of those extremely amazing things that
Yeah,
people bid on, right? Dude, you
exactly.
brought the red carpet experience. You
Yep.
brought the sitting on uh, or iHeartRadio
Yep.
interviews. You brought the sitting on the stock exchange and getting interviewed, right, with
Yep.
the stock exchange behind me. You brought all those things, all these movie tickets and concert tickets and behind the scenes type of
Yep.
opportunities. You have those connections, which is unbelievable, dude. Now we just need to get more eyeballs on it. We need to get you into more of these events. And
That's all
who,
we
who
need.
who wouldn't want to contribute? Who wouldn't want to do amazing things? And right, these people have these experiences that they couldn't buy, and what's awesome is that the money goes to charity as well. So, dude, you're just doing, it's so many good things that can come out of it.
Well, if anybody listening has one of these events, whether it's an association or like a mastermind or just anything that is bringing a good group of people together, reach out to me. It's real easy to find me. If you want my personal email address, I'll just give it to you right now. It's ceocharlie@gmail.com, and reach out to me, and man, let's make some impact together.
I love that, man. I love it, dude. And if you guys are not following Charlie on social media, we'll link his social media stuff as well. And you do a great job of documenting the story, which is important, right? I think sometimes we get, hey, we want to do good, but we want to be anonymous with the good. But dude, it's important to share the story. It's important, by you sharing it, it inspires other people to want to make an impact too. And so I understand that some people are just like, hey, I want to anonymously donate, or I want to
That's okay.
anonymously
Yeah.
help. But you're such a great storyteller. You do such a fantastic job of, um, sharing the process and going through the process of how we're making an impact in these people's lives, and that makes people feel good to see the results of their contributions, to see the
Yep.
results of their money being spent in doing amazing, incredible things and uplifting people who are going through tough times, right? Like, all of us are so blessed. We have so many uh, things to be thankful for, and uh, we don't realize, right, that other people would dude, give their arm for our worst day. And so, coming from that mindset of, let's pay it forward, let's make sure that other people can pursue their dreams and uh, have some of that excitement and just thinking bigger, right? Is so powerful, man. So you're doing amazing things. I'm so proud
Thank
of
you,
you.
brother.
I'm so proud to know you and be a buddy of yours. And can't wait to see how you continuously make an impact in the future years.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, well, thank you for being here. Hopefully you got a ton of great value out of this episode. You know, we try to give as much free value as possible across all of our social media platforms. So please make sure that you're connected with us. We are at Legacy Wealth on YouTube. We are at Tim Bratz on all other social media platforms. And we're available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. The best way that you can support this podcast is by just subscribing to our YouTube channel, by liking the video, by commenting on it, and by sharing it with anyone else who might get some great value out of it. So thank you again for being here. We'll see you next Sunday on the Legacy Podcast.